If you're ready to become a full-time content creator in 2026, now is the perfect time to start. I've been a full-time content creator for 6 years now, and I am going to tell you it is not about going viral or hopping on every single trend or posting every single day until you burn out or searching for the secret growth hack. And if you're still consuming advice that tells you to just be consistent without explaining what to be consistent with, why it matters, or how it actually turns into income, that's exactly why you feel stuck. So if you're watching this and thinking, I want to create content, but I don't want to look cringe, or I want this to actually lead somewhere, money, brand opportunities, or the freedom to travel and work abroad, then this video is for you. Because in 2026, the creators who win are not louder online, and they're definitely not posting more. They're clearer, more strategic, and they understand that content is no longer only for entertainment. It's about positioning. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down how content creators are actually building sustainable audiences, authority, and making money online, and what to do if you are starting from scratch to build a successful business to stand out. And I'm going to teach you everything I wish I had done when I was getting started on my journey that would have propelled my business forward faster without hitting burnout. With all the different advice online on how to get started, I could only imagine how overwhelming it might feel to try to figure this out on your own, especially when most of the advice people are sharing nowadays is very outdated. Like niche down, share a ton of value, and be consistent, and you will succeed. That is not the only secret sauce to success. It is way more than that. So if you have tried this out, there is a chance that you didn't succeed, and this is why you're watching this video. And the reason it probably didn't work for you was either the info they gave you was very vague, or they didn't actually break it down enough for you to fully understand, or you may have implemented it wrong and missed a few steps. So let's break it down for you and take you back to the basics and walk you through the steps to become a successful creator in 2026. Because this isn't about becoming an influencer. It's about becoming someone whose ideas land, whose content actually sticks, and whose presence online actually means something. So the first thing is to stop trying to be a creator and become a category. So here's the first thing that you need to understand, and it's uncomfortable for a lot of people. Content creators is not an identity anymore. It's not a personality trait, and it's not even a goal. It's a distribution method. In 2026, the creators who grow are not the ones trying to be everywhere or everything. They're the ones who are immediately understandable. When someone lands on your page, watches one video, or hears you speak for 30 seconds, they should know exactly why you matter and whether or not you are for them. And this is where most people get stuck. They say things like, I create lifestyle content, or I talk about business, or I post mindset and motivational content. And that sounds fine, but it doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't give the algorithm a signal, and it doesn't give the audience a reason to want to stay. So clarity is what creates momentum, not confidence, not perfection, but clarity. The creators who are winning right now online have decided what conversation they are in. They know what they talk about, who they talk to, and what their problem their content helps people think through. They're not trying to impress everyone. They're trying to resonate deeply with a specific person. And the thing is, this doesn't mean you have to be stuck in a box forever. It just means you've chosen a starting point that will help you grow your community and your raving fans. You've chosen a lens, and from that lens, everything you create makes sense and they align with each other. So there is a reason accounts blow up on certain platforms, and that is because they have become known for something. So as much as you may not want to niche down, it really does help you grow and become the go-to for something. So when choosing your passion topics, that will be a part of your strategy that you will be posting about weekly, and you'll see why understanding your niche and target audience is so important when choosing your topics. So I want you to ask yourself, do you think there is interest or a need for this topic on the internet? Because when it comes down to it, in your niche, there will be multiple topics that you can teach about, that you are passionate about, or that your audience wants to learn about. But not all of them will have a major demand, at least not enough to make you financially successful online. There needs to be a major need from your audience. So there are a couple ways to conduct research to make sure there is an actual need for it. First is that you really need to understand your audience and create content that actually resonates with them. The way they understand who they are is by researching their demographic, their interests, their pain points, their strong desires, and the goals that they want to achieve, and observing their online behaviors. It's really important to be aware of who you are talking to when creating the content that you're making. And most of the time, it is someone like you, but just a few steps behind you. So I want you to ask yourself, who is going to resonate with this content? Who can relate to me? Who is already watching similar content to what I make? And then I would go to your competitors' pages and figure out who their audience is, who's engaging with their content. And this should give you a good indication of who might be your ideal audience. So by doing this, it should give you a good sense of who your target audience is. And this is really important because a major mistake that I see most people make is that they are creating me content. And that means you are creating content that you want to make rather than having your audience top of mind and wondering how this piece of content will actually help them. This is not a good strategy to have, as it will not help you grow or attract your ideal audience, and will have your profile looking like a personal page rather than a business brand profile. So this is why it's so important to know who you are targeting and to keep them in mind when creating content. It will also make your content creation process way easier when you have clarity around what they are struggling with, what their goals are, and what their desires are. This truly is what will make you a successful creator online when you nail down who your content is for and how they can relate to your messaging. So when you gain clarity around your niche or your brand, is who your target audience is, what topics you'll be posting about, this is going to help you train the algorithm so that it knows who to send your content to, so that if you are posting about fitness content, it will get sent to people interested in fitness. Then you want to make sure your bio, your Instagram handle, and your name field are aligned with your business or your brand, so that when you attract new eyes from your content to your profile, they can tell right away what you do, who you help, and what to expect from your page. And this is going to help you position yourself as the expert, which will help you grow your account, because when it's clear what you do and if your page is for them, then they are going to hit that follow button. And the next thing I want to talk about is content is not about performing. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when trying to become a content creator is thinking that they need to perform. They think they need high energy, a ton of confidence, that they need to be entertaining constantly. But what actually works now, especially on platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, is thinking out loud in a way that is going to help other people organize their own thoughts. So the creators growing in 2026 aren't louder. They're clearer. They're saying things people already feel but haven't been able to articulate. They're explaining things in a way that makes someone stop and think, oh, that's exactly what I was thinking. What works in 2026 is not performance, it's thinking. And when I say thinking, I mean thinking out loud in a way that helps people make sense of what they're already experiencing. So the creators who are growing right now aren't necessarily charismatic or high energy. They're not yelling at the camera. They're not trying to be funny or dramatic every 5 seconds. They're calm, they're clear, and most importantly, they're saying things that make people pause and go, wait, that's exactly how I feel right now. I just didn't know how to say it. And that moment right there, that pause, is where connection actually happens between you and the viewer. People don't follow creators because they're entertaining anymore. They follow creators because they feel understood. And feeling understood does not come from performance-based content. It comes from clarity content. And a lot of people are walking around with thoughts and frustrations that they cannot explain. But when your content helps them put words to those thoughts, you immediately stand out to them. And this is why educational content, opinion-led content, and perspective-based content is outperforming trending content long-term. Because trends might get attention in the moment, they might help you grow, but they don't build real trust. And attention without trust doesn't turn into anything meaningful. So when you build your content around how you think, how you break things down, how you see patterns, how you explain things simply, your content ages better and longer. Someone can watch a video you made 6 months ago and still get value from it. That's how you build a library of amazing resources, not just a feed of what's currently trending. And this is also where people get it wrong, because they think thinking content means being boring or robotic or overly educating. It doesn't. It means being intentional. So you're not showing up to impress people, you're showing up to explain something clearly. So instead of asking, how do I make this entertaining? Start asking, what do people misunderstand about this topic? Instead of asking, how do I go viral? Ask, what do people need clarity around right now? And instead of asking, what should I post today? Ask yourself, what have I been thinking about lately that other people are probably thinking about too. And that shift alone will completely change the way that you create content. So you don't need to reinvent yourself for every single video. You don't need a new hook, a new personality, or a new niche every month. What you actually need are a few core ideas and messaging that you're willing to explore deeply, consistently, and from multiple angles. So think about it like this. You're not creating random content. You're having an ongoing conversation in public. So one day you explain the problem, another day you talk about why people get stuck there, and then another day you share a mistake you made related to it. And another day you can maybe break it down on how you'd approach it differently now. So same idea, different entry points. And when you stop trying to entertain and start trying to explain, something really powerful happens. Your delivery becomes more natural and impactful, and you stop forcing energy that isn't actually yours. And people feel that. Your content becomes more grounded and more trustworthy. And ironically, that's when people start paying attention, because it feels safe to listen to someone who isn't trying to convince you of anything. In 2026, trust is the currency. And trust is built when people believe you actually understand what you're talking about. Not because you said it confidently, but because the way you explain it makes sense. So that's how you move from someone who posts content to someone whose content actually means something. So it's now time to figure out which platform to post on. There really isn't any right or wrong answer here. What I would first suggest for you to think about is, what platform do you love consuming content on? Most of the time, people get inspired from a creator on a platform and they want to do the same. I first choose Instagram because it was my main app I would consume all my content on. So I ran with that platform. I learned it inside out. And then when I had picked up traction on that platform and built an audience, I then started building on the next platform, which was TikTok and YouTube. I definitely do not recommend running on all platforms when first starting off. You will burn yourself out very quickly. Plus, each platform has a completely different strategy on how to grow and what type of content people like to consume. So repurposing on every platform probably won't work, especially when you are splitting your energy on all of them rather than jumping into one and giving it your 100% effort. The other thing to think about is what type of content you enjoy consuming. Is it long form? That could be YouTube videos. Short form videos could be on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube Shorts. Graphics and photos would be Instagram. Whatever platform you choose, you need to enjoy the content you are creating on. So if you are passionate about consuming it, then you will most likely be passionate about creating that type of content. The other thing you need to consider is, if you are a business owner or influencer, Instagram is great for that. And let me explain why. Instagram specifically caters to businesses and creators right now. If you are an artist or a songwriter, Instagram may not be the right platform for you to try and grow on. They focus on pushing out content creators a lot, and it is a really good place to build a community. There are so many ways to connect with your audience on Instagram and ways for them to engage back. So this is probably the best place to start for someone who is just getting started. So TikTok is a great place for exposure. This is also where a lot of songwriters and influencers blow up on, but this platform does want more effort than Instagram. If you really want to start picking up traction on that platform, they want you posting anywhere from like 2 to 3 times per day. But the positive is the content quality doesn't need to be as aesthetically pleasing that Instagram expects. TikTok is also a huge search engine platform that all Gen Zs are using. So this is a great place if your target audience is Gen Zs. I highly suggest using that platform. I grew to 15,000 followers on TikTok within a couple of months, but that was from posting 3 times a day, and it burnt me out trying to keep up with everything until I got to the point where I needed to slow down, because that wasn't the only platform I was currently posting on. So it can be a lot. So YouTube is also going to be the biggest investment of your time, because it is more of a commitment and you won't see quick results within a few months of posting like you would on Instagram or TikTok. So YouTube is a platform that you jump in for the long haul. But the positive is it is definitely worth your while, because after a certain amount of views and subscribers, it starts to pay you, unlike the other platforms. And the content on YouTube is evergreen. So you'll continually get paid out every month for your efforts. Watch your content, even from your older video. So I would highly encourage you to start with just 1 or maybe 2 platforms max that you enjoy consuming content on. And I also want you to really think about where your ideal clients hang out. Is it TikTok? Is it Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn? Do research on that platform and observe the content in your industry. What is performing well? well, the topics, the style. Take note of that when starting to prepare your content. The next thing I want to cover is why most people will run out of content ideas and how creators don't. And it's not because they're not creative enough. It's because that belief alone stops so many people from even trying. They tell themselves, I'm just not a good content person, or I'm not good at coming up with content ideas all the time, when in reality, the issue isn't creativity at all, it's disconnection. Most people are completely disconnected from their own thinking. They're consuming constantly, scrolling, watching, saving, screenshotting, but they're not even pausing long enough to actually process anything they're consuming. And when you don't process, you don't produce. Truthfully, overconsumption without reflection leads to burnout, not content. The creators who never run out of ideas aren't more inspired than you, they're more observant. They pay attention to conversations instead of trends. They notice what people keep asking them, not just in the DMs, but in real life as well. They notice the same questions coming up over and over again. They notice where people are confused, where they're stuck, where they're overcomplicating things, and they don't dismiss those moments. They take note of them. Most people scroll past a thought like, that's quite interesting, and then it's gone. Creators, though, stop and go, wait, why did that stand out to me? They notice what frustrates them about their industry, the bad advice, the things people say confidently that don't actually work. They notice patterns, the same mistakes being made, the same myths, the same shortcuts being sold over and over again. And instead of venting about it privately or just rolling their eyes and then keep scrolling, they turn it into content. And that is the content that really stands out when you are sharing your thoughts rather than blending into the noise. So content creation in 2026 is way less about sitting down and asking yourself, what should I post today? And way more about paying attention to how you're already responding to the world. Your content is hiding in the questions people ask you that make you think, how did they not know this? The advice that you give your friends without even realizing it, the things that you disagree with but haven't said out loud yet, and the moments that you feel triggered, annoyed, or protective of your audience, those reactions are all data. And here's the part that most people miss. Your opinions are content. Your thoughts process is content. Your clarity is content. When you start documenting what you're already thinking, not trying to sound smart, but just explaining how you see things, your content stops feeling forced and stops feeling like you're pulling ideas out of thin air. This is why people who rely only on ideas burn out. The more you speak, the clearer you get. The clearer you get, the more you notice. The more you notice, the more you have to say. So that's how creators end up with years of content without feeling like they're repeating themselves, because they're not repeating ideas, they're deepening conversations. And this is also why people say things like, I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again. You probably are, and that's not a problem. That's actually building a strong personal brand for you. Your audience is not watching every video. They're catching pieces, they're catching moments, sound bites. What feels repetitive to you feels consistent to them. Creators who never run out of content understand this. They're not here to impress, they're here to clarify. So once you shift from trying to come up with new content ideas to simply paying attention to what you already think, everything changes. So you don't need more ideas, you need more awareness. And once you build that muscle, content stops being something you struggle with and it becomes something that you notice everywhere. And the last thing I want to touch on that I really wish I had started right off from the bat and didn't wait until I felt ready was starting to monetize my account. I feel like the old mindset for this was waiting until your audience was big enough to start selling our offers to them. Well, it is definitely not like that anymore. I see creators with just a couple thousand making 7 figures with their audience. I feel like everything has shifted a lot where people see all these accounts as actual businesses now that work with brands, and it's becoming the norm. So I think it's a great idea if you are just starting off to start implementing these monetization strategies as early as possible while you are growing your audience and business, because if your account does pop off one day, you'll actually have something people will want to purchase from you. And the last thing I want for you is to have a very time-consuming hobby with just creating content. So now you don't need to put in a ton of work right away and create all the offers. You can even just get started off with affiliate links from your favorite tools that you use every day, or putting together an Amazon storefront with products that you recommend. As content creators, you can do brand collaborations, which is where brands pay you to post about them on your platform. You can even create UGC, which is user-generated content, so you don't have to be of any sort of influencer to do UGC. You can have 0 followers and make money off of it, because basically user-generated content is created a video that a brand wants to use on their account for ads or on their profile, and that is becoming more and more popular, so you don't need to post it on your page. And then as you start to grow your platform, you can start to offer digital products or courses, because you do want to warm up your audience and nurture them before you start pitching. But it could also be as small as creating a $27 guide or a $49 masterclass or a monthly membership. It doesn't need to be a huge offer like group coaching or a course that can take a lot more of your time to create. So start off small, because most of the time, this is what people want to purchase first from you before they actually purchase a high ticket offer. Then you'll want to start pushing your offers in your content and stories and talking about it, or in your YouTube videos, to start to bring awareness to your offers. This is also where an email list comes to play, because you'll be launching it to your biggest fans that are in your email list. I also have an Instagram stories that sell YouTube video that I can post here if you want to learn more about what types of content work to showcase your offer in stories. Now, I would recommend when you were first starting off is to choose one offer and run with it. You don't want to come off salesy to an audience you are still warming up. You also want to become the go-to expert for that offer, because you'll also start to learn how to sell to your audience. So once you have perfected that and it starts to pick up traction, then you can add on another income. And just like your email list, make sure you are putting your digital offer everywhere so that people can see it in your link in bio, could be in your stand store, in your stories, and then add it as a highlight so that people can go and see all the details about your offer. So I want to end this off by saying something important. Becoming a content creator in 2026 isn't about having the best camera, the best content, or the best personality. It's about being willing to be clear before you feel ready, to show up before you feel confident, to commit before you see proof. The creators who succeed aren't more talented, they're more intentional. They decide what they're building, and they let their content reflect that decision over time. So if you're willing to do that slowly, honestly, and consistently, this can work for you. It's not an overnight way, but it's a more of a long-term powerful way. And that's the kind of success that actually lasts. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.